Hello there, everyone, and a warm welcome to this webinar. I hope everyone is doing. There we go. I think the background music that I had heard here. Um, I hope everyone is doing really good this Friday. My name is Edward. I am someone who collaborates with this web agency that is called Webtec, and I hope like what this session is going to be all about is just giving some feedback to websites. So basically, so you know how this works, I've been analyzing websites for more than 15 years. I've gone through more than 30,000 different websites and analyzed them thoroughly to see how they can perform better. So during today's call, we're going to look at hopefully some websites that some people might think are really good. And perhaps even some of the attendees of this webinar will volunteer to share their website, and I can give concrete feedback for how you can analyze your website and take really cost-effective actions to drastically improve it. For me, it's just super fascinating that it is typically only the top 10% of websites that performs really well. If you're in the rest of the 90%, your website's probably not going to do that much. So the question is like, how do you get to those top percent? That's where all the reward is. And this is like, maybe some of you guys know of something called the Pareto's law. It's like the 80-20 rule, which basically means 80% or 20% of your results. Oh, sorry, 80% of your results comes from 20% of the efforts. And this kind of applies to everything, to wealth, to happiness, to whatever that might be in life, really. So for this webinar, I'm just going to show you how do we get you to those top 10%, because it's so fascinating how many websites out there, in my opinion, that are just super generic, super plain, boring, and yeah, they really don't do anything. When in fact, if we do get to those top 20%, then that's where all the results are going to come from. So that's what we're going to start with here. So I want to begin with just saying this is going to be a very, very interactive webinar. I would love, first of all, to ask anyone who's on here right now, um, would you just say hi in the chat here? I'm going to be looking at the chat the whole session and just make sure that um, this is, you can ask any form of questions. I am purely here to help. This is not a sales call. This is not something where I think we're like generate leads or whatever. This is really just to, once a week, I want to see how we can help our community, our audience, just get better websites for the cheapest and most effective way possible, in a sense. So, whoever is here on the webinar, first of all, thank you for being here. um, I would love for you just to comment in use the comment section here. Type in your website, because then I can bring that up and give you some live feedback. You can ask questions, how should I do here, so on and so forth. This whole session is completely for you in attendance and seeing how I can just give you the best recommendations possible. Um, I've been very, very lucky in my career that I like what I do, and I think I've become far above average on this here. I would be very, very surprised if there's a lot of people out there who's analyzed and you know, gone through more websites than I have. So please start there. Can you just type in your website in the comments here? I'm going to pull them up on the screen. I'll always already have a couple other examples prepared that we're going to be looking at. And I'm going to try to make sure that we can cover 3 websites during this session. Does that make sense for everyone? If so, use the comments, and I'll start sharing my screen here, and we're going to dig in and look at a couple of websites and what they're doing good and what they're not doing so well. Okay? Alrighty. So let's dig in with the first site here that we're going to have a look at, which is, let's see here. I have a site here up and running, this one here. So hopefully right now you should be able to see my screen. What you should see is a website that has some things that a lot of people probably going to like right away. You see a big, beautiful photo. This is a company called Honesty Property Management. So when you land on this website, notice a couple of things here. there's three things I always tend to do to analyze if a website is going to be good and bad. There's three things every single good performing website will need. What are those things? First of all, we need to have good traffic. If you have the best website in the world and no one finds it, it doesn't matter how good the website is, to be honest. So I'm looking first of all at how do they get traffic to the website. There's many different strategies of this, obviously. You can do things such as post on social media. A lot of effort takes a lot of time, but it does work. Another strategy is, for example, running ads. Very uh, effective way to target who you want to get to your website, and it works. It's just really freaking expensive a lot of the times. Um, and the very or another very common way that people tend to do this is, for example, if someone is actively looking for what you do, then they might just go to Google. Um, so then if you rank high on Google, that's another really good way, obviously, to get very good quality traffic of people who's actively looking for what you do. So the first piece is looking at the traffic. The second piece is how well does the website perform? We live in a day and age that is just absolutely bananas and crazy because people's attention span is so insane. There are stats or studies from 2023 that says that the average visitor, average American, goes through more than 150 websites per day. That's a lot of websites. And that means, especially if you're operating in a B2B space, you don't have a lot of time to convince people to stay on your website. So the average visitor expects a website to load in less than 3 seconds. So we need to make sure that the website loads really quick and it instantly gets a really good impression. So that's the second piece. Then the very third piece, that's what we're looking at right here. What is the story you're telling? Are you captivating your audience to see that you're solving a really important problem for them or delivering a really promising outcome? Well, then, okay, then they might be very interested to convert from the website. So that's what I'm going to try to cover in this session. I'm going to show you how I break all of this down. The very first thing that we're going to look into then is the SEO. I have multiple different monitors here, so you might look like I'm not looking straight into the camera. But if we look at these guys here, Honest Property Management, this is a real company. And we're going to have a quick look at their website here and go through that. The very first thing that I said, piece number one, is are they driving traffic? This can be a little bit tricky to figure out because I don't know, like, I don't know the owner. I don't know how they run their business. But knowing their industry quite well, I know that it's probably going to be a lot of the three main ways I would say is in their case. Google is probably going to be a very common way. Referrals, networking, so on and so forth. That's another really common way. And the third way for a company like this is probably social media. So it would take a long time for us to go and dig into the social media and see what they do and so on and so forth. But I'm just going to start off by showing you a tool that I use. This is a tool to look at SEO. How high do they actually rank? So I've now put in this tool here, it's called Ahrefs. I put in their website, and this is a dashboard that might look a little bit overwhelming. But if you look at this here, the first thing that I look at is something called domain rating. Domain rating basically means how much trust and credibility does Google and all the different search engines associate with this website. And you here get a score from 0 to 100. I always tend to say this, and everyone knows this. Like, if you want to hide a dead body, go to second and third page of Google because no one ever looks there. So that's why it's so important. We need to make sure that the website ranks really high. Now, what does it take to be on the first page of Google? So there's a lot of things that goes into that, but one really strong indicator is how high is your domain rating. Um, I always tend to say it's very rare you're going to be on the first page unless your domain rating is above 50. So if anyone wants, I'm going to paste a link in the chat here. You can go and do this test on your website. So in the chat, have a look. I'm pasting this link right now. You can click on that link, and in there, you're going to see this here. You can enter your domain, and they're going to show you your domain rating. I used a premium version of this, so I can see a lot more data than most people will. But this company now has 16. So if you have a domain rating of 16, it's very, very likely that not a lot of people are going to find you through Google. You need to be at least 30, if you ask me. Again, it's very different from industry to industry. But um, domain rating. So first of all, I'm going to guess that this website would definitely benefit from ranking a lot higher on Google. Again, there's many, many strategies, but that's the first thing that I look at to assess whether the website have a possibility for ranking really high. Okay. So the next thing that I look at is the site performance. Now here I use a tool that is called Page Speed Insights. It's a tool that Google has created. It's very, very good, and it has since Google has such a good or like such a powerful position in a sense, it basically means that this report will give a very, very good indication of how the site is performing. So here is this tool. Again, I'm going to paste this in the chat so that everyone can go and try this for their own website if they want to. There you have it in the chat. So this report takes about 30 seconds to load. Here we now get the result. Once again, you get a result, a score from 0 to 100. According to Google, you're going to see that down here. They have like a little bit of a benchmark for what they say you should be. So you want to be between 90 to 100. Then your website is going to load really fast. You're probably not going to have a lot of people that are dropping off your website in the first 10 seconds because of speed issues and so on and so forth. If you're between 50 to 89, it's not great, but you can get by. Um, as long as you're not below 50, then you're in what they call the critical zone. And that probably means that your website is bleeding opportunities. It's loading too slow, and you can even down here see a breakdown of what that is. So this site here, honest.pm, they have on mobile a loading score of 33. So remember I told you that you want to have your website loading in less than 3 seconds. When we look down here, we have a speed index. This website takes on average 6.5 seconds to load. Imagine how much opportunities and potential leads they will lose out of because it takes just far too long to load. And of course, it depends on how fast Wi-Fi and stuff like that, or connection, what speed connection that the visitor have. But this is just like a general average at 6.5 seconds. So they don't have a good SEO. They don't really have good site performance. We can look at desktop is a little bit better here. You see 74. But here we have some huge issues right away that I think they have probably lost. I don't know, on a monthly basis, they're losing leads every single month because of this here, the first two things that I mentioned. The last thing that I mentioned then is what story are they actually telling? And this thing is super freaking hard to figure out because how do you tell your story in the best possible way? I'm going to show you a framework that I tend to use. When someone is coming to your website, they most often don't just come there like by a random chance and coincidence. They don't stumble upon it because they're bored and have nothing to do. They're normally there because they've heard or seen you somewhere and they want to figure out, is this something for me? So I have here a little bit of a checklist of what are the things, what are the questions your website should answer in order for people to have a good experience, understand your value proposition, and then be far more inclined to want to engage. So I have 6 things here that we're going to be using. The very first thing people are going to judge your website on, what do you think that is? Well, it's quite easy. It's the aesthetics. Before they read a single word, and it's like meeting a person. Before they've said a single word to you, you already have shaped a little bit of an opinion about that person based on their overall appearance. So this is the exact same thing when it comes to a website. If your website looks old, outdated, you know, not just on top of the game, that's going to reflect on how they see your business. They're going to think that you might not be as professional, modern, relevant, up to date, so on and so forth. So that's the very, very first thing we need to go into. Secondly, in the first 10 seconds of someone landing on your website, they make one decision, which is, do I want to stay here and learn more? So in those 10 seconds, we need to have good aesthetics, and we need to do number 2. They need to instantly understand, what is the point? What do you do? How can you help them? If you're able to do that well, then we jump into number three. All right, this seems like it could be something relevant for me. Now, what specifically do they actually offer? When I say this, I don't just mean what is the service. I say, what is the transformation they can help me achieve? So you see here now, I have what we offer. I always tend to say, showcase what is the problem you're solving. Don't expect that everyone already have a burning need and desire to engage with you. You need to talk about here's the problem we can help you solve, and here's the outcome we can help you achieve. If that makes sense, then people are far more likely going to want to engage with you or learn more about how you can solve that problem. Um, we obviously need to build trust and credibility. This is a hugely important thing that I see so many websites just do really poorly. Yet, in fact, it's super easy. So again, we'll cover this here. Number five is people want it, like in today's day and age, there's a very competitive landscape, and people are a Google search away, 10 seconds away from finding five other companies who offer similar solutions to yours, most likely. So why should they choose you instead of keep doing what they're doing or look for other opportunities in the market? That's another really important point. Very last of all, you need to have really good, relevant, value adding call to actions and showcase people. If you want to engage, here is the process so that we completely remove any form of doubt and hesitations from people in how they can, what it's going to look like when they engage with you. So let me know if this makes sense. Give it a thumbs up in the comments or something, or if you have any questions, post it there. But let's now use this as a framework to analyze honest property management's honest property management's website. Okay. So now we're gonna all here pretend we're gonna do a little bit of a role play. Let's say that we are the typical visitor. We come to the website. We're here because we heard or seen something about them somewhere, but we're obviously here because we want to learn more and see if this is for us. The first thing that we see now is this here. We see a beautiful photo. So design wise, I think it looks very good, this website. No problem there. It's not too much text and information that they give you right away. But now we're going to dig into the messaging. Um, the photo, first of all, it doesn't really say that much. The photo is just like nature. So this doesn't really give me any form of sense whatsoever of properties in any sense. So even though it's a beautiful photo, I think there's a lot they can do to make this a little bit more of a relevant photo. Um, Next, here we have finally a management company that you can trust. When I read this, like imagine again, as I said, you have 10 seconds where you make the first decision. Do I want to stay here? A management company, that can be a gazillion different things. So like what is this? I don't instantly know what I can expect here. So if I'm not desperate for a solution, then they're gonna lose a ton of people here. So how do we fix this? How do we make this better? I would say a couple of things. First of all, say right away, what is it that you do? They do say here in the logo type property management, but again, like this is not to me a very attention grabbing message that hooks me into want to stay and learn more. I would tweak this by saying, first of all, what is it that you do? And then I would have like a little bit of a subheading that explains who do they work with and why is this so important? Imagine if we can see that here. Then I'm like, oh, this is actually something specifically for me and something that I really care about. I want to stay and learn a little bit more. Another thing is most visitors to your website is going to be here for the first time. And one of the bullets that I had there on the checklist is like, can I trust you? That's going to be one of the main doubts and hesitations people have when they come on a website. There's nothing here right now that indicates that they are trustworthy. There's no information that gives me that confidence. So I would have something here that could be a logotype of an award. They maybe have a certification, maybe a testimonial. There's a lot of different things they can do to add here somewhere that just builds trust and credibility. Next up, the call to action they have is contact us. Contact us. We try this all the time. We A/B test to see what works well and what doesn't. Contact us is one of the worst call to actions that are out there because I mean it's so generic. It's not value adding. It doesn't really do anything at all. I would say the call to action in this case could be for example, get a free quote. That to me is like, okay, it's not going to cost me anything, and I get a quote for how what this would be for me. That is a lot better than just contact us. Because then when I click contact us, let's even try this. Yeah, here I just need to fill out a boring form. Yeah, this is not super inspiring for someone to do. So tons of things that they can do to get better here. I also know that if they do property management, there's tons of companies out there who does this. So like, why should I choose you guys? So I would say my first impression of this website is beautiful, but very, very thin when it comes to the actual content and the way they hook people in. The most likely thing people are going to do now, if we keep going, is they're going to start scrolling the website. So let's give them a chance and stay a little bit longer. When we now start scrolling the website, they now start talking about the honest difference. So here you have a couple of different boxes. This is something they actually do quite well. They have a couple of different boxes here with not too much text. But when I hover above something, I get a little bit more information about that individual thing. This is good both for SEO, because Google's crawlers are going to pick up on the text behind here, no matter what. It's built into the code. But it's not overwhelming to look at this way. The only thing here is if I go to this website, I barely know what they do, first of all, and now they talk about the difference. I don't care about the difference yet. I want to know how you can help me, first of all. So you see how the sequence of the information doesn't make sense whatsoever. So what I would do here instead is here in this section, just beneath the hero section, this is what's called the hero section. Here I would talk about the transformation they can help you. What problem can they help you solve, and what outcomes can they help deliver? Um, what does that look like? Here is one really good example that I tend to come back to over and over again because I think it's such a great example. I'm going to bring up now a company that has that sells, they help you build and grow a podcast. I've scrolled a little bit down on this site, and this is the exact same section. Here they show it like this. Managing a podcast can be overwhelming. Resonate makes it easy. Imagine if you want to build a podcast and you know that it's overwhelming. You see this here. It's like, yeah, I do agree. If I don't want to do all this by myself, I have this huge hassle of things I need to figure out to be able to do so. Podcasting with Resonates instead is like a clear step-by-step process. We give you the professional cover art, so they explain the whole process in such a clear way. So when I see this, I'm like, okay, I really get that you can help me with something really valuable. Now I want to see how you deliver your solutions. So does that make sense to everyone here? If so, give thumbs up so we know that everything here is resonating so far. Okay, so back to honest again. A little bit further down here, let us help you manage your properties. So now they have a photo. They have what I would say a far too big chunk of text. I've read the text, and the text itself is really good. So that's not the problem. But the problem is whenever you give too much text and information in one go, people are like less than 10% of people are going to read this. So what I recommend here is they should have maybe this and maybe this, and then they have like an expand here. When you click on the expand, then this text here pops up. It's a super small detail, but you're going to get so much more effective uh, results because more people are going to read it. And if they read and take in the information, it's more likely that they're going to want to, do something with the information. Then down here, tell us more how we can help. You have the contact form. Here we have a little bit more about the company. And again, I would say this looks very, very kind of basic. Here to showcase where they work. So imagine this here now. If you were looking for a property management company and you find this here, would you say, all right, I find my partner? Personally, for me, absolutely not. I don't know what makes them different, unique. They don't really say clearly what they actually do here. They don't say what problem they can help me solve and what outcomes I can hope to get. Without that, I'm just flipping a coin and guessing, right? They have done very, very little to build trust and credibility. There's, again, no logo types. The only thing that I can see here is 34 reviews on Google, which is good. That's actually quite good. But I mean, that's kind of hidden and it's down here. So they don't build a lot of trust and credibility here whatsoever. If I want to engage with them, they have here get started. I have no idea what get started means. Does that mean that I'm actually hiring them right now? That's not. I'm not ready to do that, so I'm not going to click on that button. So they really make me climb the tree to get to the fruit. And imagine now, just take this whole experience as an example and see if we can apply that to your website. I don't think there would be a lot of people that would convert from this website, if you ask me. Not that the design is bad, but confusing photos and so on and so forth, and very, very lackluster messaging, low loading speed, not easy to find. This website here looks better than most, but I don't think it's going to perform much lead generation whatsoever. So, um, what I again, the takeaways for a site like this is much more relevant photos. Have better messaging initially. Say what you do, who it's for, why they should care. Have a call to action that is value adding, not just contact us. Please, if you listen to this, don't use contact us. I can virtually guarantee that you're not going to get a lot of clicks on that button. And I would recommend them following back to this again. What is the storytelling that they're doing? The design is okay. They don't instantly say what they do. They're not really clear what they offer and what it can do for me. They don't build a lot of trust and credibility. They say what makes them different, unique, but in the wrong place. Um, and lastly, I have no idea what the engagement process is going to look like. So if this was you and you were a potential client of theirs, do you think you would convert? Let me know in the comments here because this would be very, very interesting to see what you think. Um, my overall score on a website. Here's my again the final of the roast. Um, since the three pieces are not there, I will say I'm not going to judge the website out of what I like and think. I'm going to judge this out of how I think it performs. I think my guess here would be that this is going to be there in probably the bottom 20% of performance, if you would ask me. Um, I think the only people that are going to convert from their website are really desperate for a solution. Maybe they're going to very, very strong referral or recommendation from a friend. But I mean, that how often does that happen? Not very, very often at all. So these guys are leaving so much opportunities and money on the table because of their site. So um, I know we like again. I get into this far too nerdy than I want to. Maybe we should have more time. We're almost up with the half an hour that we planned. So um, if you want me to give the same kind of assessment on your website, you can just either connect with me on LinkedIn. You can paste your email here in the chat, and we don't do any spam stuff whatsoever. But then I can go and record a video of where I analyze your website, showcase where your website is strong, how I recommend that you fix it, and how you do that for the absolute lowest cost possible. I even have a lot of bookmarks of sites probably in your industry that we can use for a lot of inspiration that we can learn from and see how they convert from their websites. If you think that would be helpful, then again, reach out to me. Um, I I never have the approach of trying to push and sell. I want to give really valuable information. If that information is something that really helps you, then we can have obviously have a deeper conversation on how I can help you implement those changes. So this was the very, very first time that I did this webinar, a website roast like this. So I would love to get a little bit of your feedback, whoever has been here and attended this webinar. So um, if you would be willing to give me some feedback, that would be awesome. Just connect with me on LinkedIn. I can send you an email and message and just ask you a couple of questions. But for me, it's super useful. I just want to provide value. Um, and hopefully this was quite inspiring for you to see. I'm going to try to do these once every single week. So every single Friday afternoon, I'm going to do my Friday roast, and I'm going to get better and better and better at this. And yeah, just try to see how we can help people get a website that really generates leads, opportunities, engagement while you sleep. That's really the goal. So for everyone that was here, big thank you. If you have any formal questions, you can paste them in the chat. I'll get back to you right away. And I'm wishing you all a really good weekend. And hopefully you'll stay tuned and join us for the next webinar as well. Thank you again. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.